He awoke in the middle of the night, his eyes snapping open to the red digits glowing on the clock. 2:58 a.m. Something pressed against his chest, though it wasn't pain, nor was it the familiar grip of anxiety. It was something stranger. It was silence.
Not the silence of a sleeping neighborhood or a quiet room. This was thicker, heavier, as though it rose from deep within him. A silence that didn't belong to the world outside but to some unlit corner of his own being. He lay still, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily in circles above him. The room looked peaceful. The night remained calm. Everything appeared undisturbed except for him. Almost by reflex, his hand reached for his phone. The screen's cold light lit up his face as he scrolled. Couple kissing in Paris. Someone proudly posting their new house. A young woman grinning with her job promotion. The endless parade of curated lives filled his feed, each snapshot shimmering with color. But his own life felt pale. Even from the inside, it looked dim, muted for no clear reason. And how do you explain that? How do you tell the world you feel empty when everything insists you should feel alive? He sat upright in bed, that familiar weight clinging to him. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't joy. It was something worse. A complete detachment, as if the invisible cords tying his soul to reality had been severed. And then, without a reason, his body trembled and tears fell. He cried, not because something specific hurt him, but because his body could no longer carry the burden of feeling nothing at all. And I ask you, how many times have you lived this without even realizing? How many nights have you been him? Because sometimes the greatest torment isn't agony. It's tranquility. Not the kind of calm that heals, but the kind that erases. A calm that stands before you like a mirror and whispers, "You have no idea how to live." And here's the paradox: you have no logical reason to feel like this. You aren't deprived of love. You aren't homeless. You aren't hungry. What you lack is something without a name. And what if I told you that is human too? What if I told you this isn't a defect inside you, but the inevitable outcome of a culture that demanded you abandon yourself long ago? It's not that you are weak. You aren't broken or ungrateful. You've simply been conditioned to endure instead of exist. Surviving was the lesson, not living. We were trained from childhood to run faster, do better, achieve more, to produce, to prove our worth, to demonstrate constantly that we deserve to occupy space. But no one taught us how to rest in the moment. No one showed us how to stay still without suspicion. No one modeled how to savor life without guilt. And the absence of that lesson leaves a scar that follows us into adulthood. Have you noticed how uneasy you become when things are finally going smoothly? How quickly your mind conjures imaginary crises as soon as the waters calm? That is no accident. It is a learned pattern. It is the fear of joy, the fear of pleasure, a fear bred in a society that prizes exhaustion and punishes stillness. A world where every whisper is, "You must do more. Don't stop. You haven't earned the right yet." This endless demand seeps in like poison. And the emptiness it leaves once you've proven yourself, that emptiness is even more dangerous. Because one day you reach your goal, you cross the finish line, and you feel nothing. The success you longed for doesn't nourish you. The trophy doesn't quench you. That's when the true abyss opens, because you can no longer point to chaos or failure as excuses. Everything looks fine, and still you feel undone. Even thinkers of centuries past anticipated it. Desire propels us forward, but the satisfaction of desire unravels us. Movement distracts, but calm exposes. Stillness shows us everything we've hidden away. The stories we never told, the childhood wounds disguised as everyday habits, the ambition that was really self-criticism, the emotional disconnection polished into a lifestyle. The body continues on autopilot. The mind completes tasks. On the surface, you appear functional. But inside, something vital is missing. You are not truly here. Your soul clocked out years ago and forgot to return. And you don't notice it immediately. It creeps in quietly, through the smallest cracks. How birthdays stop thrilling you. How you feel irritated when someone asks if you're okay. How your laugh becomes shallow, reaching only your lips but not your stomach. how your own lack of feeling shocks you, and then you label yourself ungrateful, detached, cold. But you aren't. You're merely defended. Defended, that's the word. Your psyche has learned to never lower its guard, not even in peace, because peace itself feels suspicious. Too much like the still moment before everything collapses. The brain can mistake comfort for danger if old pain taught it that way. So no, you're not numb for no reason. You're living in response to a world that raised you to distrust ease, to see resting as laziness, to believe joy is selfish, to think success is only legitimate if it comes with suffering attached. And so the cruelest twist arrives. Sometimes even happiness becomes unbearable. Not because you don't want it, but because you don't know how to hold it. No one ever taught you how to receive without repayment, to savor without guilt, to live without needing justification. So you sabotage it yourself. You create conflict. You withdraw when connection grows close. You ignite arguments that don't matter. You leap into impulsive choices just as stability nears. You do it not to harm yourself, but to feel safe again, because the emptiness is at least familiar. But listen closely. You weren't born to accept emptiness. You weren't born to walk through life with your brakes pulled tight. You weren't born to function on autopilot, surviving day after day. And you certainly weren't born to carry guilt simply for existing. This is not your defect. This is not proof you are broken. This is a human response, a survival mechanism. But survival is not the end. You can relearn how to live. You can retrain yourself to step into your own body again, to welcome your emotions instead of repressing them, to trust silence, to allow joy to arrive and remain without fear. It won't be fast. It won't be simple, but it will be true. And the way forward begins small. A slow breath taken fully, a cup of coffee enjoyed without scrolling through a screen, a walk without filling your ears with noise, a laugh you don't smother, a no said with clarity without guilt, a yes spoken without trembling. Because well-being should not frighten you. Joy is not a trick. Love is not a danger. Rest is not wasted time. And pleasure, it isn't a luxury. It is a biological necessity. What you feel isn't abnormal. It isn't proof you're flawed. It is human, entirely human. And that means it has a path forward. Not through cheap slogans, not through hollow promises, not through plastic positivity, but through the brave act of stopping your own escape. There is still time. Time to wake. Time to return. Time to recover the part of yourself that fell asleep long ago. Sometimes the solution isn't changing your entire life. Sometimes it's learning to live inside it again. And that path begins now, without guilt, without rush, without fear. Just you, breathing, and at last feeling.